Hello, my name's Harry Dove, and I'm an Enterprise Account Director at NetApp. I've provided this quick overview for how NetApp is helping our enterprise customers where they are adopting a hybrid multi-cloud strategy. Looking at the market, IDC say that 78% of companies are already using public or private cloud. Gartner have said that hybrid architectures will become the footprints that enable organizations to extend beyond their data centers and into cloud services. In their 2019 Magic Quadrant for primary storage, Gartner noted that NetApp ONTAP delivers the deepest integration with the largest cloud storage service providers. They also ranked us as the out-and-out leaders in this Magic Quadrant. A recent IDC article stated that organizations looking to deploy new workloads and/or refresh IT infrastructures as they digitally transform should consider NetApp, as our portfolio is at the leading edge of the intersection of enterprise storage and hybrid cloud. In all, NetApp is unique in our ability to provide consistent data management wherever you want to keep your data. This slide builds based around the 6 R's methodology, which is spoken about by AWS. It aims to explain the steps that customers should take when looking to move services from an on-premises environment and into the public cloud. The blue box represents a customer's data center. AWS suggests that when adopting a cloud strategy, the first thing you should look to do is to understand what services you currently run internally that you can repurchase in a SaaS model. Quite often, this ends up being Office 365 or Salesforce as a first step into the public cloud. One of the pieces overlooked by customers is that they have an expectation that buying a SaaS service will provide the same levels of business continuity in the event of disaster recovery. However, if you look at Salesforce, they recommend you work with a third-party provider to back up their solution. They note that corruption can happen to your CRM when completing batch uploads, or if you have employees leaving your organization who corrupt data. Whilst Salesforce say they will help you in this instance, they do note that it can take 6 weeks to recover data, and there is a $10,000 charge for this. They also say that they cannot guarantee recovery of records. NetApp helped to fill this gap by offering our SaaS backup product. This provides a feature-rich set that allows you to recover data that may be lost within Salesforce and Office 365. The next step that AWS suggests is to rehost data. In essence, lifting and shifting what you have on premises and moving it into one of the public cloud providers. Whilst this is the easiest step in a cloud migration, you quite often find that the efficiencies that you have built internally, such as data deduplication, compaction, and compression, are lost as you move into the public cloud. NetApp has worked hard with all three of the main hyperscale providers to embed our operating system in their environments. This means that when you seek to rehost data into their cloud, you're moving it to a consistent data management platform in ONTAP, which gives you the same efficiencies, compression, and compaction capabilities that you are used to on-premises in the public cloud. It also means that you are likely to be able to lift and shift more of your environment without having to perform more work to enable it. The next step would be to re-platform your applications. Re-platforming applications means that you may have to do some work to make them cloud ready. We have seen a large uptake where people are moving critical applications into one of the hyperscale providers, and they are working with us to enhance that for their customers. Microsoft Azure resell a service that they call Azure NetApp Files. The other two providers both take part in NetApp's Cloud Volume Service. Cloud Volume Service places our storage and operating system on the edge of the public cloud and enables you to run critical applications in their environment. To give you a real life case, moving SAP into Azure, one of my customers was finding that it was taking them 7 hours to back up the environment. Moving their storage onto Azure NetApp Files enabled them to reduce this backup time down to 30 minutes. That's a 14-fold improvement, and you can imagine from an end user experience when they are using that application in the cloud, it will be improved by having higher performance. The next step that people may use is to refactor applications. Quite often when people are talking about refactoring, they'll talk about agile methodologies or taking a DevOps approach to deploying services into the cloud. Most of the times that then leads to a containerized conversation, and most people standardize on Kubernetes. NetApp, through Project Astra, has created an abstraction layer that sits above the public cloud providers. This allows you to create Kubernetes and deploy them at will either into Azure, Google Cloud, AWS, or to on-premises infrastructure. Many customers find that when building containerized services, whilst they can do that natively in one of the public clouds, it breeds a vendor lock-in, meaning that if you build your services in Azure and at a later date you want to move them to Google Cloud, that becomes a reworking exercise. Working with NetApp Project Astra, the abstraction layer makes it easier to be able to drop and drag applications and containers between the public clouds and on-premises at will, and therefore removing the vendor lock-in. The next step would be to work out what you can't move to the cloud and how to retain it on-premises. People then say that they want to build a private cloud environment that looks and behaves in a similar manner to the public cloud. This means it offers agility, scalability, and ease of management. In this scenario, NetApp would recommend our hybrid cloud infrastructure, or HCI. The big advantage of HCI from NetApp versus the market is that it's independently scalable, meaning that you can scale your compute and your storage resources independently. As you've completed all of those steps, the final step for you would be to retire your applications on premises as you've moved them to their new destination. This slide retells the AWS 6R story, but really aligning to where customers' data resides. So the three blue boxes represent, on the left-hand side, a customer's data center. In the center, this could be the edge of your network, so a small office, remote office, or a private cloud in a third-party service provider environment. On the right-hand side, the public cloud would be one of the three big hyperscale providers. Typically, when people look at NetApp, they consider NetApp to be a storage provider in their data center. Usually, the experience is that NetApp has been very reliable, very few failures, and so people are happy with the technology. Within that data center, they'll then be running compute and networking on top of that, which enables them to deliver applications to their end users. As you decide to start moving those services into a hybrid cloud environment, the first targets would typically be your email or CRM system, where you probably move it to an Office 365 or Salesforce environment. Again, we would recommend SaaS backup because this helps to fill the gaps in the event of disaster recovery. It also allows you to recover any lost user data files. The next step would be moving applications into one of the public cloud providers, and the fact that we're able to offer ONTAP, our storage operating system, in all three of the hyperscalers means that from a management perspective, all of your data is managed through the same console. Also, ONTAP enables you to deliver the same efficiencies into the public cloud providers that you would expect on premises. One of the challenges customers often see when they first move into the public cloud is that they will experience bill shock. This is that the plan for moving into the cloud doesn't factor in the hydration effect of moving data from an efficient environment to a service provider environment. With NetApp ONTAP, you maintain the same deduplication, compaction and compression technologies in the public cloud, and we've been able to report anywhere between 50 and 96% storage space saving efficiencies, and in one case we've managed to save a customer $3 million on their cloud spend. For legacy applications, we then see people adopting a DevOps methodology. This means that they'll create containers and build them maybe into one of the public clouds or into multiple public clouds, and they may also wish to replicate that on premises. NetApp Project Astra enables customers to build and deploy containers into any of the cloud providers, move them between them at will, or move them on premises. This means that you can make sure that your application is agile, scalable, and movable. The other piece that we're seeing growing in the market is customers adopting artificial intelligence. The use cases I'm seeing is people will typically dip their toe in the water with one of the cloud providers to answer a simple issue. A recent example I saw was a customer seeking to run credit checks for their door-to-door salespeople. In their traditional model, their salesperson would visit a customer, They would agree a service. They would then have to perform a credit check, which would take 2 days with the salesperson going back to the office to complete paperwork. Working with Azure, they were able to automate this and therefore complete credit checks on the doorstep, reduce the number of visits they had to make to the customer to close a deal, resulting in more sales and more revenue for that business. However, once the credit checks are completed, there are other utilizations for artificial intelligence, and applications are then built in the other clouds. The challenge is with AI, you're trying to extract the maximum value that you can from your data, and having it in discrete silos across different areas means that you may lose some of the value that you get from that data. NetApp's answer in this case is to provide NetApp private storage. This is NetApp storage that sits at the edge of the public cloud, allows you to create your own private data lake, and then utilize AI functionality from any of the 3 major hyperscalers onto a single data set. That means that when you're trying to extract value from your data, rather than having to move it from one cloud to the next, you have all of your data set in one place. As far as visibility for the customer, we then provide a CIO dashboard. This gives you full visibility of your environment from application through compute to networking and storage. It helps to reduce any failures within the environment, to understand how different aspects of the environment are behaving with each other, and gives a single screen approach to see what's happening with your IT infrastructure. All of this is underpinned by the consistent operating system ONTAP that NetApp provides, and built together helps to explain what we describe a data fabric, which is to allow you to have any data in any place and access it how you choose. To provide a customer example, I've recently been working with a customer who had a cloud-first hybrid cloud strategy. This was that they wanted to move as many services as possible into the public cloud in order to minimize their on-premises storage footprint. They had a mixed estate where they had 2 suppliers for storage. NetApp was providing file-based storage, and a competitor was providing block-based storage for their Oracle environment. When we analysed their estate, we could see 80% of their file data was cold. This means that it hadn't been accessed within the previous 30 days. NetApp was able to provide a solution to the customer which consolidated both the block and file storage onto a single appliance. This is because NetApp supports multi-protocol data environments. Because of our connectivity to the cloud, we were able to tier the cold data into AWS S3 storage. This resulted in a 70% reduction in the customer's on-premises storage footprint. It also meant that the customer could recover data seamlessly to their on-premises environment if and when users needed it. The other big advantage that the customer had was by standardizing on the ONTAP operating system, they maintained the same storage efficiencies when they were in the public cloud as they had expected on premises, and this leads to a reduction in cloud bill costs. So, this concludes my brief presentation to show you a high-level view of NetApp's capabilities and how we can help you to embrace a hybrid multi-cloud environment. If you have any questions or would like to speak, my details are on the screen. Many thanks.